absolutely insane. I think William Friedkin probably, if this film was made nowadays, he would be in jail for a lot of the stuff that he pulled on the set of The Exorcist. And I think the reason why people think that this film is cursed is because of how much of a menace he was in the creation of this film. Drive-by movies, and never have I ever seen The Exorcist. My name is Blaise.
I'm James.
And this week we're going to be talking and opening up our new conversation, our new show. It's called Never Have I Ever. We're going to talk about a film that one of us maybe hasn't seen that usually everyone's seen, like a very common film, something that you're actually a little bit guilty that you haven't seen. And people always maybe might bring this film up and then you just kind of like yep. You act like you've seen it. We're way too embarrassed to say that you haven't seen it. For me, the first film, obviously, The Exorcist. This is a film that everybody talks about. Even if you don't like horror, you've seen The Exorcist, and you know that is like one of the major like reasons why horror films actually get respect. You know, won 2 Academy Awards, and this is like just one of those movies that you ask anyone, you ask your parents, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah. I haven't seen it in years. It kind of felt like one of my first times watching it. And actually, we did something cool. We watched the director's cut. So in a way, it was my first time seeing this version of the movie, at least. And it was actually my first time watching it from beginning to end. It was always a movie that I had to like kind of watch on TV, like little snippets, and like when my parents weren't in the room, just because they hated this movie. It traumatized them as kids, so they refused to ever let it play in the house. But yeah, I love this movie. But we're here for your thoughts, Blaise. It's your first time seeing it.
Yeah, I had seen bits and pieces before, not on like TV or anything, but I think I had like tried to watch it once. It was one of those movies though. The reason I hadn't seen it was just I felt like everyone would always like, it's one of those things where like everyone's always talking about it, or maybe they're not, or everyone's always saying this is the scariest movie ever. And maybe I tried watching it. It is a slow burn, and like I think I was younger. I was just getting into like horror movies, so having seen those films at the time that were out, like thinking stuff like The Hills Have Eyes, like the newer one, just stuff that where the pacing is just a lot different. This has a very different pacing than what if you like horror movies, like modern horror movies, is very different pacing wise. But I think that's one of the reasons why this film is so strong and why it gets so much mainstream success and recognition, is because it's paced perfectly for you to care about these characters, for that final scene to just mean like so much. Like it means more than like these movies where there's a jump scare in the first 15 seconds before the title card hits, so I feel like this is just one of those movies where, I mean, obviously I can't be saying like, oh, if you haven't seen it, go see it, because I fucked that up, but it's just like, for me, it was definitely up there. Like, I understand why everyone loves this so much. I definitely enjoyed it. It wasn't one where like I watched it and like I don't understand this. I don't understand why people like this movie. I think it's just known that this is like, one of the best horror films, maybe even one of the best films ever made. So this was up there. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, the scenes are just like so well at just being so disturbing, while really there's not that much going on even at some points, like, but when shit hits the fan, like it hits through the fan and smashes through the next wall,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's paced very well too. There's never like, it kind of reminds me of like, well, just for a 2-hour movie, well, the director's cut's 2 hours and like 15 minutes, I believe. But it's paced so well to where it never feels long. You're getting the right amount of development, and you're getting the right amount of like information to where you know what's going to happen. You know what is currently going on with this character Reagan. And it's just like you said, paced perfectly to where when the end finally kicks in, like the ending is the creepiest moments of the scenes, but there is some like really creepy scenes before that. Like some of the hospital scenes are truly like terrifying, I'd say.
That's before stuff gets super weird. Like there's weird moments before that, but that's before stuff gets super weird. So it's like that those scenes are pretty jarring even. But then like towards the end, like it's just everything happens. The head turning around, a lot of these like really iconic moments.
Right. Yeah. I still like think of James Woods in Scary Movie Part 2, where he just like walks in, sees the head spin, and he's like, "Fuck that," and just leaves.
Fuck this.
Or whatever.
Isn't the beginning of Scary Movie 2 is like...
I think that's the only funny scene in that movie. Yeah, I like the first one as a kid, but I remember the second one I was not a fan of. But that scene itself, like, it's actually funnier to see Videodrome actor James Woods in Scary Movie.
Yeah, it's silly. But when it comes to this movie, I feel like it's definitely one of those movies. Like, if you like horror, you should see. I should have seen this, obviously. You know? So, I mean, what better way than to really approach a subject like that? Something that I feel a bit vulnerable about, and like put it out there on the internet, you know, how embarrassed I am for not seeing this movie. And then, you know, immortalizing it with a video about, you know, seeing it for the first time with a clickbait title. So that's definitely, I think, the best way to go about it. I have to say this film was recently on Curse Films, which is a series on Shudder about, you know, these movies that have, you know, things that happen either behind the scenes or on set that, you know, you don't want happening on your, you know, your film set or afterwards, because it might, you know, invoke the idea that the film is cursed itself. So this was on there, I think, because Linda Blair had gotten hurt, like in that scene. They had like a hydraulic piston or something that was, you know, in the bed scene where she's kind of like going back and forth, and they bust her spine or something, or they broke a couple vertebrae, which is absolutely insane. I think William Friedkin probably, if this film was made nowadays, he would be in jail for a lot of the stuff that he pulled on the set of The Exorcist. And I think the reason why people think that this film is cursed is because of how much of a menace he was in the creation of this film. He was shooting a gun in front of Brother Karras, like during scenes, and he was like offended, because it's like, dude, you can't just like fire a gun. I'm an actor. I'm doing my job. Like, I can look scared. I don't need a gunshot right next to my head. So, you know, I think that this film, like, there's a reason why it's immortalized, and it might be like, you know, so much pressure, so many intense things that happen, you know, created a diamond, you know, like they say.
Right. And definitely, like, you can see the inspiration that a lot of movies have had because of this movie too. Like, while watching clips, like, I was just like, oh, like, this reminds me of this movie. This reminds me of this movie. But it's because of how crazy influential this movie was and stuff. And how does it hold up towards other horror films, Blaise? Like, this is the holy grail for a lot of people. But like, as someone, like, anyone who doesn't know you, I know that you've seen hundreds of horror films. And so, like, how does this one hold up?
It definitely, it's up there. Like I said, it's one of the best movies ever made. I think hands down. There are some films that take what it does, and I wouldn't say do it better, but they lend so much and borrow so much from it that it makes it feel like they might, in a way. But it's, you know, when it comes down to it, like, if you're gonna turn this thing on after 1 a.m., like, nothing's gonna do a better job. Like, people were seeing this movie in droves, you know, standing outside in the cold during winter or whenever, because I'm sure it was in theater for so long. It did what it needed to do. Like, this film is up there. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time for Warner Brothers, and also one of the highest grossing R-rated movies ever made. So there's a reason why people still talk about it today. I think that, you know, if you really boil it down and you ask, like, the general population, like, horror films, like, were created when this film was made, and they also died when this film was made.
Right. Yeah. No, interesting take. Yeah. And yeah, I can see it. Like, see everything that you said. There was nothing like offensive or anything. Like, I mean, I'm a fan of this movie. I love it. But like, I see that you like respected it and you enjoyed it for the first time. But like, yeah, it's so weird to compare it to a lot of modern movies that you've seen that like might have ripped it off or been inspired. But like, it's weird comparing it to the original movie when, like, you know, you're watching something that's like a little bit more modern.
Yeah, I guess specifically I'm thinking of like The Wailing. Like, that's the movie that comes to my mind. Is like thinking of The Wailing. It's like, dude, it's just like almost a straight up ripoff of The Exorcist, but it has a lot going on, like, in the spiritual sense. But I mean, The Exorcist has a lot going on when you're talking about like Roman Catholicism. Like, So it's just it's a similar movie that, you know, is made in Korea and has that ambiance that, you know, would be local to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like it's a better film, but I feel like they just straight up ripped off The Exorcist. Now that I freaking love The Wailing, and now like watch The Exorcist, I'm like, damn, dude, they just like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was like, while watching it, I was like thinking like, oh, I would have loved to see like Dario Argento, like his version of this in the 70s, because Suspiria, I'm not sure if it came out. I think it came out a couple of years after The Exorcist. Like, I would have loved to see what he would have did if he had this script. But I felt like the remake of Suspiria, though, like tried it so hard to be different from the original Suspiria that in terms of look, at least, it felt very similar to the original Exorcist. And that's what I kind of caught rewatching this. I was like, oh, crap, like this... like the newer Suspiria kind of reminds me of this movie.
Yeah. Oh man. Actually, yeah. I dude, that movie was wild. Like even thinking about that movie too, that is a wild movie. But it's very similar to this, where it's like very kind of slow burn, like building up, and then shit just hits the fan like like almost too crazy, where you're like, oh my god, like it makes everything pay off so well. And I think that's one reason why people love this movie. Like, and we'll always love this movie as long as films exist, you know, like, because you care so much about these characters. It's only so many. It's very, you know, minimalist kind of story in a way. But when shit hits the fan, it hits it so hard that, like, you can't stop talking about the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It makes me happy because this is a movie that I definitely enjoyed. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember the first time I saw it when I was like 14. I really appreciated it for what it was and understood why it stood like the test of time and why it's like, you know, so appreciated. But I can't wait to see a movie that I'm surprised you haven't seen where you just absolutely destroy it. But I'm glad this movie wasn't it, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if this was that film, I don't think the channel would exist anymore. Like, just when the video was released, our channel would have got deleted, you know? So I'm glad, you know, I enjoyed this film, because if I didn't, there would be no channel anymore.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, definitely go check out The Exorcist. We watched the director's cut, so I don't know if I have to. Let me know in the comments below if I have to go back and watch the original. I mean, I think it only had 10 extra minutes, but if for some reason I have to go check the original, let me know. Let us know what you thought of The Exorcist, if you've recently watched it, or if, you know, you've seen this film before. Let it, you know, shame me in the comments about how I haven't seen it until today. So, guys, click the description in the Amazon affiliate link below. It's in the description box. Click that, watch The Exorcist, support the show that way, because that's a great way to support the show.
Also, to help us, be sure to smash that like button. Let us know what movies that we should be reviewing or talking about, because there are a lot of movies out there that we haven't seen. So let us know in the comments, and hopefully we'll get around to it. If you haven't already, please hit that subscription button and that notification bell to get all our latest updates.
Tune in next week for a brand new Never Have I Ever.